See, you are the prize, but you've been bred and conditioned to think that you're not. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the reasons why it's so hard for you to get out of a bad relationship. So one thing I will say, whenever we want to take action, or we think we want to take action, and it's massive action, the thing about that holds a lot of you back is fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're prepared. You can't even fathom what the possibilities are if it's negative. You don't know what's going to happen. So what do? Instead of taking that leap of faith and taking massive action, you stay in your comfort zone. Even though this is a bad relationship, this is what I'm used to. This is what I'm comfortable with. If I step outside this relationship, I may fail. You know what? I don't want to fail. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm just going to stay here. And something you haven't done that may be counterintuitive is maybe you haven't thought about the worst that can happen. Or maybe you have. You have thought about the worst that could happen. And that's the reason why you won't take that leap forward into the unknown. But you haven't accepted it. You haven't accepted the worst that could happen. And the worst that could happen may not be as bad as you're making it seem, because you're being more irrational than you are logical. And when that happens, you catastrophize what's going to happen next. And there's so many men that have been in relationships that were bad. They got out of them and they succeeded when they went forth and did what they had to do to be happy in a better relationship. But you just haven't accepted the worst that can happen. So here, I'm going to give it to you like this. What's the worst that could happen if you're already in a bad relationship? You're not getting what you want. You're not being respected. Maybe she's treating you like shit. Maybe she's not giving you sex. It's just a bad fucking relationship. What's the worst that could happen? You be alone and you don't get into another relationship? You don't find a woman that wants to be with you? How's that the worst? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How is that the worst that could happen? It's not. It's all in your head. It's not the worst that could happen. That's actually better for you, because you might need to really work on yourself. You might need to grow and fix whatever issues that's causing you to think that you need to stay in a bad relationship just because you're afraid of the unknown. So accept it. Accept the fact that if you get out of this relationship, or when you get out of this relationship, I'm rooting for you. When you get out of this relationship, you may not be with the woman. You may be alone for a long time. And that's okay. You have to accept it. Accept it. And you'll be fine. Now, this is a reason that I would say this is probably one of the most reasons why a lot of men stay in bad relationships. You don't value yourself enough as a man to realize that you actually are the prize. See, you are the prize, but you've been bred and conditioned to think that you're not. From your parents to the people in your neighborhood, schools, maybe girls you dated back in high school and college, and things you see on social media. All of that conditions a lot of men to think that they aren't good enough, to think that they have to fit the standard of what a woman wants them to be. And when they don't fit that standard, or they don't know what that standard is, they feel like they're less than. And that could be something that is going on with you. You have to have an honest assessment of what it really is for you. So when you're conditioned like this, you have no idea of your full potential. You have no idea of your full potential. You think your potential is being with her and staying in that bad relationship. That's your only potential. That's as far as you can get, but it's not.
As a man was passing the elephants, he suddenly stopped, confused by the fact that these huge creatures were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. No chains, no cages. It was obvious that the elephants could, at any time, break away from their bonds, but for some reason, they did not. He saw a trainer nearby and asked why these animals just stood there and made no attempt to get away. "Well," trainer said, "when they are very young and much smaller, we use the same size rope to tie them, and at that age, it's enough to hold them. As they grow up, they are conditioned to believe they cannot break away. They believe the rope can still hold them, so they never try to break free." The man was amazed. These animals could at any time break free from their bonds, but because they believed they couldn't, they were stuck right where they were. The moral of this story is that our beliefs and perceptions, often formed early in life, can limit us and hold us back, even when we have the strength and ability to overcome obstacles. It reminds us to question our self-imposed limitations and not to underestimate our potential for growth and change.
And that's the same with you. You've been conditioned to think a certain way. And when you've been conditioned to think a certain way for so long, you take on that identity and you think that you are not good enough. You think that you're not the prize. You think that you're less than women. You knock yourself down into the pits and you put her up on a pedestal. And when you do that, how can you feel confident enough to leave a bad relationship? Because you don't think you're worth anything. That's the truth. You have to really have knowledge of yourself to know the value that you bring into a relationship. Unless you need to work on yourself and you're really shitty as a person, you need to work on yourself. You need to understand who you are. You need to discover who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, you'll never know your full potential and you'll never live up to your full potential. And without going off on a tangent, one thing I do want to add is if everyone is doing their best, and I'm not saying that you're a victim, just hear me out on this. If everyone is doing their best to condition you to be that type of male that doesn't know his value, that doesn't know what he brings to the table, doesn't know what type of man he is, doesn't understand and believe in himself or think he's the prize, I want you to think about this. Everyone but you benefits from your ignorance of your own strength and your own potential. Think about that. Think about this. If you don't know your own strength, you don't know your own potential, you don't know who you are, you have everything inside of you is empty, right? Things on the outside are what is going to give you quote unquote value, is what's going to make you feel like I need to do this, I need that, I need all these things outside of me in order for me to feel like I'm important, that I'm valuable. But like I always say, and I said this in another video, anything that's given to you outside of you can always be taken away. Always be taken away. So it really holds no real value. However, things that are inside of you, that were inside of you from birth, unless your parents fucked you over, those things inside of you are what grow. That's why you grow and you have strong sense of self. You have self-esteem, self-confidence. You have pride in yourself. But once that's ripped away from you, regardless of how it happened, you'll never see yourself as a valuable man that can say, this relationship is bad, it's not good for me, there's better out there, let me get out of this relationship. So until you take accountability and you know who you are and you can accept the fact of what's going to happen after you get out of a relationship that's bad for you, it's already bad for you. Until you can understand that and accept it, you're always going to be in a shitty relationship. Maybe she leaves you and you're on your own, but you're always going to leech on to another relationship where you're looking for this, you're looking for that, you're looking for that missing piece, but the missing piece is you. That's the reason why it's so hard for you to get out of a bad relationship. You got to know who you are. You got to understand your value, your self-worth. You got to understand all that. If you don't understand all that in your relationship, and the relationship is bad and it's hard for you to get out of that relationship, you shouldn't even be in a relationship to begin with. If the relationship is bad and it's not working out and you don't know who you are, you haven't really worked on yourself, your growth, your confidence, your self-esteem. If you're not at 100, you don't need to be in a relationship. I'm going to just be honest with you. You don't need to be in a relationship. If you're already in a relationship and you're married and it's serious and it's been years and years, now's the time to start working on yourself. Because once you start working on yourself and you are at 100% and you're doing well, you understand your value, your self-worth, and the relationship is still bad, you know that you need to get out of a relationship or marriage, but now you have the confidence to accept whatever happens after you leave that relationship. It's all about you. Understand that and move on. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.